Hello, it's Cheng again, and this is a slight overview on Fusion and one of the clips I just worked on because I was just bored. So please bear in mind, like with the slow loading time, I'm on a dual core, which thankfully has 6 gigs of RAM, but it's by no means a beast to use. So, in this video, I was watching one of my friends, Encore, who is like one of Zimbabwe's premier music directors and one of the best compositors in the country that I've come across. And while sitting and watching him, I was, well, literally had no power at home and decided, oh, let me actually go to his place. And I just saw him, watched him as he worked on one of his latest videos, which is something you can all look forward to. And I thought, oh, you know what, actually, I want to do something like this. So he graciously supplied me with some old footage that he had and decided to work on something in a few minutes, and this is what I got. So the program I'm using is Fusion 6, the 64-bit version, yay. And what's quite cool is I can now have QuickTime movies. If you've ever heard me before, I complained a lot that I had to convert my videos to image sequence, and a small clip would end up being 10 gigs big, and yes, I was not happy about that. So here we go. So this was the footage that I was supplied with, and well, a green screen video. So this was a shoot for, I believe the artist was called OE, and the song was called Closer. Sorry, you're not going to hear any music because I, well, disabled it. Now, what I decided to do was that, okay, I'm going to take out the screen and composite it onto a background and make something awesome. And unfortunately, the only background I could find was this of berries. Why? I don't know. It was in my wallpaper directory that I copied from someone, and yes, this was the best I had, despite my usual collection. Okay, so here we go. So in order to proceed, I needed to remove the screen, and the best way to do it was to use Primat, which is a keying tool. It just removes the green or blue, depending on what sort of footage you have, and this was the result that I got. So once I had that done, I decided to do some color correction to it. So I affected like the brightness, actually the contrast and the gamma, a little bit of the lift, added a slight blur just to remove the sharpness of the video, because I believe this was shot with 7 Canon D, I think, and well, just really high res. Just like color correction, added a slight glow, and decided to do the same with the background. I go here, whoops, here, brightness, a glow, and a scale, just to fit to match up the video together. So when I combined the two, this is what I had, and I was like, okay, now what to do next? So one of the first things that I did was I did a light wrap, and what a light wrap is bringing your foreground image and background image closer together so they don't stand out too much, and that's what these tools along are for. So if you just look around her here, if I disable the light wrap, you can see, well, light just disappeared from the edge. If I turn it back on, it just helps sell the image that that she was in, or miniaturized and scaled and shot by some berries. So it seems subtle, but it does actually help quite a lot. Alright, so what I decided to do next was do some more color corrections, like desaturated it, put affected the gain, just trying to bring them closer together, both images. Then what I did next was I took this background, added a glow, and then combined it with a soft light onto my video, and that's what I had. So I was like, okay, this is looking nice, the colors are working well together with my berry background, so I decided to put a vignette. So a vignette allowed me to just like have the viewer, without realizing it, focus a little bit more on the video. So you can see around the edges here, I've got some black borders here. So if I adjust this, you can see I'm just adding, like, adjusting the levels and then adjusting the sharpness to give me that result. And when I was at this point, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool, looking good so far. Then I was under the tool section and was like, oh, OpenCL, what is this? And it has quite a few tools. So through my experimenting, I found this, the OCL rays, which just gave her like a slight beam behind her. A little hard to see, but it's there. But when I initially used this, I was having a problem where when I applied this rays, it was actually like bouncing light right off her face, like really, really brightly. It was actually destroying the image. So if I disable one of these nodes, you can see I got beams coming off her face. And this is one of the great things about node-based compositors, is that you can reuse a lot of your material to reuse or fix problems that you have. So if I go back to the beginning, remember I had this footage, and then I keyed it out. And then when I keyed it out, I had a stencil, which was this. So what I actually did do is I just created another node to key it, and I got this. Very sloppy. You can see some transparency of blacks there, and I used that as a mask. So anything outside of the white will show, and anything inside of the white will be erased. So that made it possible for me to just have the beams. If I go back here, that made it possible for me to mask out those beams, so I could just have it coming out from around her rather than on her. So once I was done with that, I decided to add some atmospheric smoke. That's what it looks like there. Did some adjustments, time speed remapper, because the smoke was actually moving too fast, and I was like, no, I want it nice and slow. And then kind of combined it together. It's pretty hard to see. If I adjust that, no, it's not working there. Okay, let me just disable this. Alright, there it is. Alright, I just wanted a subtle effect to it. And then I did the same with particles. I needed something to happen in the foreground. So I applied some brightness controls and then just layered it on top. So you can kind of see it there. If I disable that, on and off. Alright, and then I just added a film grain, to give it that film-ish effect. And this was the end result of my final shot. Okay, well, here it is. Sorry, excuse the playback. Camtasia only records at 12 frames a second, but this is effectively my Slopcomp, which is just like something I just threw together quite quickly. And yeah, it still needs a lot of work. It could, remove a lot of the smoke. I don't know. I just need to have fun with it and just continue with it. But thanks.